Okay, mateys, it's time for our last section in this chapter, lesson 9 by 8, factoring by grouping. Arrgh! Okay, so let's get started. And we are lesson 9-8, factoring by grouping. Okay, by this time we've had a lot of experience with our factoring. This is just another method of getting to our factoring pretty easily. In this case, we're actually going to be factoring a 4-term polynomial. Okay, so we're kind of leaving trinomial for just a moment, and we're going into 4-term polynomials. So let's get started with 5t to the 4th plus 20t cubed plus 6t plus 24. Now when we say grouping, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at separating these polynomials into 2 parts. Each part needs to have something in common. So in other words, we're not going to try to group like a 5 with a 24 because factor-wise, that just doesn't work. Okay? And, you know, we're going to look, usually we're going to have things that are close together. So we're going to group this 5 and 20 and this 6 and 24. It makes sense. Okay? So what we're going to look at with this is what can I pull out of here? What monomial can I factor out of this binomial? We're just looking at this binomial here. Okay, so I know that I can pull out a factor of 5, and here I've got 4 t's, and here I have 3. I can pull out 3 t's. So I'm going to pull out 5t cubed. What we have left is a t here, and here we have plus 4, and we have no t's. So t plus 4 is all that is left. Now, we're looking at all positives here, so I'm going to put an addition sign. And now I'm going to factor this binomial. I'm going to once again pull out just a monomial out of that. Now, I have 6 and 24, which means that I have in common a 6, factor of 6. And what's going to be left is this t, okay? And when I take the factor of 6 out of 24, I'm left with 4. Now, what I need you to see is the fact that what I have left in both of these factorings is the same exact thing. So what we now do is we take and we group this monomial and this monomial to create another binomial. So what I have at the end of this is 5t cubed plus 6 times t plus 4. And I only need one of them, okay? Because what you're seeing here is the distributive property. So all I've done is separate this out to distribute it to each item within that parentheses. Now, just because we need to make sure we absolutely understand this, I'm going to go ahead and FOIL what we have left. So I have first 5t cubed times a positive 4. So I have, first. Well, of course, I'm doing first and last. Really, I need to just put this in here again because obviously I've made a mistake. Okay, so what we are going to do is first, like I said, 5t cubed times t, which is 5t to the 4th. Outside, 5t cubed times 4 is 20t cubed. Inside, 6 times t. Inside. Oh, Lord. Yes, inside is 6 times t. And last, 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, I'm actually doing this on a Saturday, so bear with me. I haven't had enough coffee. Okay, so as you can see, we have exactly what we started with. And it really wasn't a difficult way to factor. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at a couple more. Actually, one more of this type. So this time we're going to look at 2w cubed plus w squared minus 14w minus 7. Now, we're going to have a little bit of a difference here because these are negative, so not everything is going to be positive. But we're going to group it the same way. Obviously, our 14 and our 7, these want to group together, and so we're grouping these together. Okay? So from here, I'm only going to be able to pull out w squared, which is going to leave me with 2w plus 1. Okay? So, always mentally check yourself that that's right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a negative here. Okay? Knowing that this has to be the same in both places. And I'm going to pull out a 7. What's going to be left here is 2w plus 1. Because we know that when we distribute this 7 to both items within that parentheses, these will both become negative. Okay? Now we combine these two monomials to make a binomial, which is going to be w squared minus 7 times 2w plus 1. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to FOIL that. Hopefully the foiling won't foil me. W squared times 2w, doing my first terms, is 2w cubed. Outside, w squared times 1 plus w squared. Inside, negative 7 times 2w, negative 14w. And outside, negative 7 times positive 1, negative 7. And you see that we are all set with that. Okay. What we're going to look at now is that sometimes you need to pull out a monomial first before you start all of this. Okay, so as we did in other lessons, we're going to look for that monomial to pull out. So we're going to look at the problem 45 m to the 4th minus 9m cubed plus 30m squared minus 6m. We're going to look at this and we're going to say, you know what, I have a common factor of 3. So I can pull a 3 out of this, okay, and we can do the division ladder, okay, because I like the division ladder. Pulling a 3 out, I'm left with 15m to the 4th minus 3m cubed plus 10m squared minus 2m. And now I'm going to realize that each one of those monomials within this polynomial has an m. Okay, there it is. I'm pointing like up to the air. Has an m. Okay, so I'm also going to pull out an m. So I'm going to pull out an m, and I'm going to be left with 15m cubed minus 3m squared plus 5m minus 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Oh Lord, look at what I did here. I can't believe you all let me do it. Okay, sometimes I wish you were here so that you could raise your hand and say, Mrs. Basic, you've made a mistake. So yeah, obviously I made a mistake. So this is actually a 10. I didn't do anything else to it but take an m out. Okay, so now I have to group these, and I'm going to group them in this way. Okay, and I'm going to say, okay, here I can pull out 3m squared. And what I will have left is 5m minus 1. Okay? And here, I'm going to pull out a 2. I'm going to pull out a 2. That's it. And then I'm left with 5m minus 1. Oh, look at that. Okay? So now putting everything together, not forgetting this up here, I have 3m times 3m squared plus 2 times 5m minus 1. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply this all out. I'll start with my FOIL. Okay, so I will have 15m cubed outside will be minus 3m squared. Inside will be 10m, and last will be minus 2. And then I will multiply everything times 3m, okay, giving me negative 6m here, positive 30m squared, negative 9m cubed, and positive 45m to the 4th. And, well, as you can't see because it's all the way up at the top, but hopefully in your notes you can see it, this is exactly the same as what we started with, okay? So that is what happens when we pull a monomial out first, and then we factor by grouping. There was one last section that we do need to talk about, and that is grouping with trinomials. Okay, now, hopefully we'll be able to go through this and you'll understand it. It really isn't complicated. There's just a little bit more to it. So here we're going to have trinomials. And let's deal with our first trinomial, which is going to be 63d squared plus 44d plus 5. Okay. What we are going to do first is we are going to multiply. We're going to multiply our A times our C. Okay? So that is going to be 63 times 5, which is going to equal 315. Okay. So 315, now we need to come up with factors of 315, okay, that will give us this 44, okay? So factoring 315, a little bit more complicated than factoring other things, but I will tell you that having gone through it, the first thing that I did was say it's not by 2, and 5 is going to give us the 63, and that doesn't work. But 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So this number is divisible by both 3 and 9. Now, if you put 3 into it, you get 105, which isn't going to help us at all. So let's go ahead and let's look at it for 9. Okay, if we divide this by 9, then 9 will go in here 3 times 27. We've got 4 left, 45. So we're looking at 35. So 9 times 35 is equal to 315, and 9 plus 35 equals 44. Oops, 35 equals 44, and 44 is what we're looking for. Okay. Hopefully you're with me, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to rewrite that original problem, but we're going to use 9 and 35 instead. So this is now going to look like this. 63d squared plus Okay, and I need to put everybody in the right place. So I'm going to put 9D, okay, plus 35D plus 5. Now I've put it in this order. Now remember, 9 plus 35 equals our 44. It was up here, okay? So now I can group them. And notice I put the 9 over here first so that it's with my 63, so that my 35 can be with my 5. Now, I know that 63, I can pull a 9 out of here. Excuse me, I have 7 left. So I'm going to pull that 9D out. That's going to leave me with 7D plus 1. And then I'm going to pull out a 5 from here, and that'll leave me with 7D plus 1. Now, of course, it all goes together. 9D plus 5 times 7D plus 1. And I think that for this first one, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to FOIL it so that you can see that I'm going to come out with my 44D. So first, I've gotten 63D squared. My outside is plus 9D. My inside is plus 35D. My last is plus 5. And when I combine those center terms, as we knew would happen, I come out with 63D squared plus 44D plus 5. Okay, let's do one more problem and then we'll call it a day because we are really doing very well here. Okay, last problem, 11K squared plus 49K plus 20. I'm going to find AC, so AC is going to be 11 times 20, which equals 220. I do know that when I look at my 220, I've got, let's see, so I've got those factors of 20 that I can always use. So 4 times 55, but these are all positive, so I have to add those, and those don't work. But then when I go to 5 times 44, well, 44 plus 5, 44, so this equals the 220, and 5 plus 44 equals 49. So there is my magic numbers, 5 and 44. I'm going to put the 44 with my 11 and my 5 with the 20. So that'll now read 11K squared plus 44K plus 5K plus 20. We can see 44 plus 5 is equal to the 49. Okay? When I group, I'm grouping like this. I'm taking 11K out, leaving me with K plus 4, plus here I'm going to take out a 5, leaving me with K plus 4, and I come out with 11K plus 5 and K plus 4. Now, just for one moment, I want you to recognize that when I get this 220, one of the things that you have to remember is that the factors must always add to 49. So make sure you're looking at that number and using that as you're factoring. So hopefully this wasn't too much, but if it was, I'm sure I will hear about it when I post it. Okay, guys, take care and have a great evening. Arrgh.